Mr. Deputy Speaker, if the members of the Honourable House recall my statement in the 2025 budget, I actually challenged the Prime Minister and the government. And the challenge was, I said, Mr. Prime Minister, if you fully implement the 2025 budget, the largest budget, then you will be the best Prime Minister this country has ever had. For 2025, Abau received 8 million for DSIP, 2 million for district infrastructure. That's all. But I want to acknowledge the support of the Minister for Coffee, who allocated 1 million for Abau coffee mill. Thank you. 10 years ago, in 2015, this Honourable House passed the Sovereign Wealth Fund law. 10 years ago. 10 years ago, that law has never been implemented. After we have passed the 2015 law, no government has ever injected the fund, the proceeds that are coming from these projects that will be depleted one day. Two structures were recommended in the Sovereign Wealth Fund. One was a stabilization component. The reason was to manage revenue volatility. The second was what we normally call future fund. In our next 50-year journey, beginning in 2026, I am requesting through this Honourable House that the government start injecting funds in the Sovereign Wealth Fund. The medical supplies budget is below 300 million. I think it's about 200-something million in the budget. We will still fall short of drug supplies in the country in 2026 with this amount of fund. Snake bite from Kupiano was referred to Port Moresby because we didn't have antivenom. And that mother died at Kukila because she suffocated. Had we had antivenom in Kupiano, we would have saved that life. Such is the story throughout the country. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Abau.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, for allowing the people of Abau to speak on this very, very big and important budget for 2026. But firstly, let me join the others who have passed their deepest condolences to the Honourable Member for Teleforming and former Works and Highways Minister, Honourable Roland Milson, very close friend of mine, and I always responded to my text messages. A very responsive minister, very hard-working minister, minister who knew all the roads in the country, traveled throughout the country, including my new highway to central to Alotau. And I personally will miss him too. In fact, he ran me up on Sunday to have lunch. We had lunch on Sunday. And this morning I woke up. I couldn't believe it. I ran his number, but it was not answering. And then the message came, confirmed that he was dead. So my deepest condolences to this hard-working man, very passionate for his electorate telephone too. Mr. Deputy Speaker, if the members of the Honourable House recall my statement in the 2025 budget, I actually challenged the Prime Minister and the government. And the challenge was, I said, Mr. Prime Minister, if you fully implement the 2025 budget, the largest budget, then you will be the best Prime Minister this country has ever had. And then I told the government, I said, if the government fully implements the 2025 budget, this will be the best government that this nation has ever had. I fully associate myself with the full budget speech given by Shadow Treasurer, Honorable Brian Kramer, on the many, many issues and the misinformation that has been going through budget debates. And I, for one, want to confirm for myself as member for Abau and put a grading on the performance of the Prime Minister and the government before I come and talk about a few issues only, and I will sit down. For 2025, Abau received 8 million for DSIP, 2 million for district infrastructure. That's all. Last 3 budgets, we have never received any kina for kina, the famous 5 million, nothing. But I want to acknowledge the support of the Minister for Coffee, who allocated 1 million for Abau coffee mill. Thank you, Minister, for giving Abau, because we are now progressing in coffee in Abau, joining other coffee producing districts. So I've got 1 million of coffee to develop a coffee mill in Abau. We are now engaging the land issues at the moment. So my rating, out of the 20 million in the budget, I only received 10. So my rating is C, not A. C minus on the performance of the budget. And the different ministers, you will acknowledge that your ministry was short by the budget appropriations. And my effort has shown that over the years, and FBO has shown that over the years, that whatever budget this parliament passed as law, we don't fully comply with it. And so today, another record budget for the first year of our next 50-year journey, 2026. Very big budget. And again, I want to really challenge the government to please listen to what the chairman for the Budget and Estimate Committee has commented on, our shadow treasurer, East CP Governor and former Prime Minister Honorable Peter O'Neill, our opposition leader, and other members that have spoken. This is a very big budget, and budget is a key instrument in any nation. And so for the first time, we have hit 30 billion target. I think one of the debates has highlighted that the dilemma on accountability, transparency. That has been our dilemma as a nation. So we haven't properly institutionalized the structures that hold us accountable. The Public Accounts Committee, Honorable Deputy Chair, which you look after, has been doing a good job. But other sectors, for example, the Permanent Committee on Works, while the budget gives a lot of money on works, the Permanent Committee on Works hasn't done enough to hold the government accountable. Minister for Works, Secretary for Works, accountable. Big money going to education, big money going to health, but the parliamentary committees that are under your responsibility, Mr. Deputy Speaker, we haven't doing our job to hold the government accountable. This parliament must be realigned under your leadership, Deputy Speaker, to hold the government accountable. And I hope that your budget will provide the support to all the committees so that they can do their job. We need to hold the government accountable. The committees must work. This is why I've been a promoter of the chair of the House to be the one recommending committee members to the floor, not the leader of government business. The executive government must not influence the legislature. It's a very, very important demarcation. And so we need to move. I hope that your budget, the parliamentary budget, is enough to make all the committees work. And may I suggest, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that chairmen of the committees, their remuneration should be equivalent to ministers of state. You know, can low, you go low too much. No, God, they do a lot of work. They go around the country while some ministers are sleeping. So we need to realign these things. What is the responsibility of the parliament? Because this is the people's house. How does the parliament work effectively? Through the structures that we have been managing all the same, and parliament has not held the government accountable. Even Wonk, we haven't been allowed to work, and committees are playing around. And on that note, so I am arguing on the point of accountability. We haven't done enough work to hold different ministers, the Prime Minister accountable. The Governor for East Sepik has raised an issue of the Prime Minister's budget, biggest ever. Former Prime Ministers never had those type of budgets, 200 to 300 million. But where is the accountability? Every item, from the ward, LLG, district, to departments, DDAs, the accountability structures are not strong in our country, Honorable Deputy Speaker. And so it is our responsibility to make sure that the people's money is used transparently. Second issue I want to raise, Deputy Speaker, and that is, I heard that the Plans and Estimates Committee was given the final budget and the week that the Parliament was to sit. And thanks to and congratulations to the Budget and Estimates Committee. And the speech read by the chairman is one of the best that I have ever had in terms of budget assessment. And I hope that the Treasurer will read the 2026 National Budget Analysis Brief that the chairman has delivered to this Honorable House. But in terms of budget transparency, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the normal timetable for budget preparations begin in April of the year. That the budget framework is posted in the media. And that's budget transparency. And then everybody contributes with that budget framework, which is posted in the media around in the first quarter. And then consultations begin. Over the years, Deputy Speaker, the executive government has never consulted the opposition on the budget. Why has that been allowed for this long? We need to change that. And so the opposition is devoid of funds. Example, we have legal bills that the opposition cannot pay because your parliamentary budget is not enough. So the poor lawyers, private practitioners are waiting out there, and some of them are closing down. And so the opposition has to be considered too under the parliamentary budget to make the opposition stronger in terms of resource mobilization. Mr. Deputy Speaker, 10 years ago, in 2015, this Honorable House passed the Sovereign Wealth Fund law. 10 years ago. 10 years ago, that law has never been implemented. When I was Deputy Prime Minister under the Grand Chief, and we were negotiating the PNG LNG project, we strongly recommended the Norwegian model for Sovereign Wealth Fund because of the predicted Dutch disease. After we have passed the 2015 law, no government has ever injected the fund, the proceeds that are coming from these projects that will be depleted one day. two structures were recommended in the Sovereign Wealth Fund. One was a stabilization component. The reason was to manage revenue volatility. The second was what we normally call future fund, that it had to be intergenerational. We called it development fund. That's a future fund. But I read in the report of the Budget and Estimate Committee on page 1, Mr. Speaker, if I can, at the British Speaker, refer you, and that is the key summary of the three main revenue components. And the one that I want to point out is reads like this. For 2025-2026, revenue by other revenue will be the biggest year-to-year change at 93%, followed by revenue by tax at 4%. Specifically for revenue by other revenue, the reason for this significant change is due to increased collection of dividends projected at 5.2 billion kina. The government expects majority of dividends, 2.95 billion kina, to come from mining and petroleum dividends. My concern is the sticky fingers of the government is now into these funds that should be directed towards the Sovereign Wealth Fund for the future. Mr. Deputy Speaker, 10 years ago, this law is waiting to be implemented. Like many, many laws, government failed to administer. But this Sovereign Wealth Fund legislation, 10 years old, is so very, very, very important. Look at the sustainable fund for the Western Province people. I think it's hitting over, I'm not too sure, it was 1.5 billion, 1.4 billion Australian dollars 15 years ago. I haven't caught up with the current rate. I think it's way more than 10 billion or 50 billion because of the very good fund managers. That was an example of how to structure a sovereign wealth fund in a developing country called Papua New Guinea. And so it's not hard. Why for 6 years, under the leadership of Prime Minister Marape, while we passed the law, while he was under Honorable Peter O'Neill's government, why haven't we implemented? We didn't do it under O'Neill, and now 6 years now, we haven't done it yet. So I'm strongly recommending in my debate, Honorable Deputy Speaker, that rather than put the sticky fingers on those funds that are held in the Kumul petroleum or Kumul mining, please consider the future for the children. Because these things will stop one day. We have received, Deputy Speaker, since the 7th of October 2014 to mid-June of 2025 from the PNG LNG project, from the figures that I've got, a total of 32.66 billion. Out of that, 16.27 billion is tax revenue for IRC, which comes through our budget. One project alone. 11.06 billion goes to the Kumul Petroleum. And that's where the sticky fingers are moving into now. And 2.2 billion is for landowners through MRDC, and royalties 1.6 billion. So the point that I want to make is make a commitment to start feeding the Sovereign Wealth Fund. While the revenue, as you can see from the Shadow Treasurers, the revenue that this government is picking up is higher than any other revenue picked up by the two former governments that comparison is made on. So I want to emphasize for the future generation, we must make sure that we inject funds in the sovereign wealth fund, and with this biggest budget ever for the first year in our next 50-year journey beginning in 2026, I am requesting through this honorable house that the government start injecting funds in the sovereign wealth fund. My next debate, Honorable Deputy Speaker, is in the area that I am very, very familiar with, and I'm sorry that I missed the Health Minister's speech as I was out. But I want to emphasize two areas. Number one, which I have debated on this floor before, and that is the medical supplies budget is below 300 million. I think it's about 200-something million in the budget. We will still fall short of drug supplies in the country in 2026 with this amount of fund. The population has grown to over 10 million now. The minimum per capita expenditure recommended by the World Health Organization is $10 per capita. That's 40 kina per capita. With 10 million people, the budget should be close to 400 million. So my prediction is that we will be 50% short of medical supplies in 2026. The reason why I emphasize this point is, and I think the Honorable Minister has also raised it, our global funds who have been supporting us for the key areas of HIV/AIDS, TB drugs, etc., they will be withdrawing. And there is a big hole in that area that the Global Fund has been supporting us. I hope that the budget, and I don't think the budget has catered for that. And so I'm strongly recommending for the Minister for Health, through you, Deputy Speaker, to make sure that these funds are managed and the recommendations that we've been arguing here are fully implemented in terms of transparency and procurement of medical supplies and running of hospitals throughout the country. This morning, as I was coming to the...
Honorable Member, I interrupt you.
Oh.
Your 20 minutes of debate.
I will sit down, but I will want to share a message that I got this morning to emphasize the current situation. A snake bite from Kupiano was referred to Port Moresby because we didn't have antivenom. And that mother died at Kukila because she suffocated. Had we had antivenom in Kupiano, we would have saved that life. Such is the story throughout the country. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker.